All right. Good evening once again, everyone. So, like I said earlier on, we would be looking at creating a report this night. So, as a Scrum Master, as APM, ADM, you will be expected to create a report at some point in the course of your working with your team or your teams, depending on which one it is. And so for tonight, we would look at the meaning, we'll look at the content of your report, we'll look at the audience who needs this report, and then we'll just look at some sample reports, what it contains and all that based on what we're going to discuss tonight. Okay, so reports, a sprint report. Your report is also referred to as a sprint report or a quarterly report, depending on your role and the one you're writing. Okay, so simply put, it's just a summary document of what happened during the sprint or what has happened during the phase of the project, the quarter, the release, towards the release or that, depending, like I said, on your role and what you're writing. So for a Scrum Master, definitely to be your sprint report. For an APM or ADM, APM being Agile Project Manager or Agile Delivery Manager, yours might be the phase report, a quarterly report, or a release report might be what you are writing. Okay. And it just gives a brief overview of the sprint, or the phase. If I say the sprint, just know that for your role, it will be the milestone that you're covering. And then it just covers the main aspect of things, during that sprint or during that quarter. It goes straight to the point, and it's clear, it's simple, it's clear and concise because you're giving information to key stakeholders and you don't want to bore them. And they are small, they can be divided into small manageable sessions, for simplicity. Like I said, most of these stakeholders, they're so busy, they have other things they're doing and all that. And if you want them to really go through the report and all that, then you'd better make it, as simple as possible, straight to the point. I know that because all these senior management, you see a lot of documents on their table, like I've said, and you want yours to be one that they enjoy, not really enjoy, but they are happy reading because they know you go straight to the point. Okay. So, and it is prepared most times with both text and chart. With text, you can explain, but with visual representation, it gives a better understanding for you. And then it helps you to submit relevant information to them at the end of the quarter, at the end of the phase, or at the end of the sprint. So that is what your sprint report or quarter report, release report, that is what it is. So there are some content, basic content that you will find in those reports. It's not limited to this, depending on projects, depending on your audience, most times that helps you to know the content of it. But these are just the basic ones that most times you will find in majority of the report. So you're looking at the project name. So definitely your project has a name. Like if let's assume your project has to do with uh okay, so your project name is not your, like trusted is not your project now. So your project could be Mentors Kit. So you want to put that there so that whosoever is the stakeholder reading it knows the particular project they're reading about. They know the particular project or product that you're referring to when you put the project name out there. So it has to have your project name in it. And there is also no standard number of pages that your report should be. But again, it shouldn't be more than 2 to 3 pages, depending on the information that you're putting in it. Okay. So your project name, like I said, has to be the product or the project that you're working on. So your team right now is elevated or elevator up, but that is not the project you're working on. Maybe you've called that as your name to specifically say this is who you are, but the project you're working on might be payment gateway, might be like now I think both teams are working on Mentors Kit. So that is the name that you want to put there. And you're looking also at your sprint name. Another content will be your sprint name. So you want to specify the sprint that you're reporting on, the sprint that report is all about, like sprint 1, sprint 2, you put that there. And in front of that, you want to put also your sprint period. So when the start date and the end date of that sprint, like maybe 1st of April to 14th of April and all that, you want to put that there also for them. And then you're looking at your sprint backlog items updates. So these are the things we've taken into the sprint. These are the updates for them. Where are they? What is the status? Are they completed? Are they in progress and all that? You want to put that information there. You also want to put the information about your team's capacity. The availability of your team members for the sprint. You want to display that there. Also, you want to display the planned work days, actual work days. You want to put that there. So you can say for this sprint, full capacity, if you have full capacity, or if you have half capacity and all that, because that would help for any of the sprint backlog items, your user stories that are not completed. They will know, okay, so this or that the reason why you took in such small amounts, you'll be able to tell them that based on your team's capacity. Okay. And then you're looking at the sprint highlights. What are the highlights of your sprint? You're able to provide that information also for them. If there are any highlights of the sprint and all that, you're able to put that there. If there are any issues during the sprint also, you're able to put that there. And what that gives is it gives information about any risk or issue that affected work progress during the sprint. It gives them that information also. Also, you will have your metrics in there, your velocity chart, your burn down chart. And it's not just to put the chart there for putting in sake. You should be able to give a brief explanation of what your chart is displaying, and then give improvement suggestion based on what the chart is displaying. You're also able to put that there. And then you're able to put in review feedback update. So maybe in the previous review that you had before that to report, there were some feedbacks that the stakeholder gave when they came for the review and all that. What is the update of those feedback, of those review? Have they been implemented? Is it done now and all that? You want to put that there. And if possible, put the URL of that particular place on the website where that thing has been done. Just put it there. So in case they want to check themselves, they can click on that URL to go there and say, oh, okay, yeah, I told them to change this color to black. They've done that and everything. You're able to put that there. So it's not just about saying it. It's about saying it and giving them evidence also, that has been done. And then also you're giving an overview of the next sprint. You're telling them briefly, you just give a brief summary of what is expected, for the next sprint, because you know that already as a Scrum Master, you would have spoken to the BAs, you have spoken to the Scrum Masters, you're giving them and what you're doing with all this is you're carrying them along. Agile is all about collaboration between the team and the stakeholders. You're collaborating with them, and the updates you're giving through your report is the collaboration that you're doing with them. So these are some of the content. But like I said, it depends on the report you're giving. It depends on, so this might be for a Scrum Master, but definitely for an ADM or an APM, their own content would be a bit different. Okay, so their own content for an APM or an ADM will still have the project name. Also, it will have the phase name. Like I said earlier on, theirs might not be the sprint, it might be the phase. So they're able to talk about the phase that they are in and everything. They're able to put that there. What phase are we? Is it quarter 2? Are you giving a report for quarter 2? You're able to put that. When did that quarter start? The period between that quarter, is it with January to that'll be 3 months, January to March? That is the one you're giving. You're able to provide also project objective. You explain what the project objectives is. You have to be specific about it, the measurable goals that were planned, and you're able to define them. What were the intended outcome? What were the deliverables for that phase, for that quarter, and the achievements that you've had so far. You're able to provide that. And it has to be, clear direction and criteria for success is what you're looking at. And able to ensure that all the teams and the stakeholder have a common understanding of what the project has accomplished at the end of that phase that you're giving a report about. Also in yours, there would be executive summary. So what the executive summary is saying is just a high level overview of the current state of the project, the key accomplishments. What are those key accomplishments, and what are the significant issues and risks? How are we going to kind of mitigate all those risks that are being made mention of? Would be what you have in your executive summary. For example, now, if the sprint or the phase focused on you could say something like this period focused on completing authentication module and all that. 85% of planned tasks were completed. The main risk identified is a potential delay, what was the delay, and everything. You're able to explain that. And then it's not to tell them the delay, the risk alone. What are you going to do? What is the mitigation plan that you have in place? When is that mitigation plan going to start? If it has started already, you could say, oh, mitigation plan of doing has started. The timeline to complete it is so time. So they know that even though there is an issue, is at hand. You're working towards that and everything. You're able to give that. Okay, so also you're able to give them the phase deliverable update. What are those? I did say that you will make mention of key accomplishments. So in the phase deliverables, you're able to make mention of what has been done. What was the objective? What are the deliverables that came out of that objective? If the objective for a particular phase is to create the payment gateway, what are the things that have been done? How many gateways do you have? Types of gateway have you created? Payment platform do you have? Direct payment, third-party vendor payment platforms, all the things that have been delivered, the deliverables, the increment that has been added to the product or the project, you're able to list them. It could be like I said, it could be the payment. It could be the main accomplishment could be a third party payment platform. So maybe initially the product has the direct payment, and then business is looking at, okay, people don't like paying directly now. They use third party vendors to make their payments. Stripes, what's that other common one? PayPal and all that. And that is what the face was trying to, accomplish. Were the team able to accomplish that? Has that been tested? Is it working properly? Has it been deployed? Is it waiting deployment? Has UAT been carried out on it? Have they had the pilot, testing on it? All those things are the things you want to, put in your deliverable update that it has been done. And then you have your risk and issue management also. Like I said earlier on, what are the risks and the issues? What are you doing about it? The timeline to complete it and everything. You're able to put that there. The metrics also, you might able to put your metrics in also. Your velocity charts, mainly for the ADM, it will be the velocity charts, not the burn down, because the burn down talks about the sprint, and that's the SM one. So you are looking at the velocity chart to say that average velocity for the team is, it's this and everything. They're looking at what you planned normally over a period of time and what was completed. That's what the key stakeholders are interested in when it comes to kind of the release quarter. So you're able to give them all those information, what the average velocity is for the team going forward and all that. You're able to put that. The budget status also, you want to put that there, because the APM, you're the one, managing the budget. Even if you're not the one managing, you might not be the one holding the money. The finance department might be the one holding the money, but you know that you give approval before they spend anything. So you want to give a budget status. Some key holders, like if the financial person is there, if somebody from finance is there, or they're going to get their hand on that report, that is where they are most interested in, that so amount has been released towards this project. Is it on track? Have you spent more than, what we budgeted for and all that? So you want to put the budget status there. And again, for you to be the overview of the next phase. So the next phase is when the period, you might not put the period there, but the next phase is there. What is the goal for the next phase and all that? You want to put that also in your report as an APM or an ADM. Okay, so some few tips for us when it comes to creating what is called a good report, things that might help you to create a good report. You're looking at the number of pages. I said earlier on that you don't allow it to be too much. It shouldn't be more than 2 or 3 pages. Most people normally put their report in PowerPoint because it's easier to kind of read. It's easier to structured well, and it's kind of more official, sort of. Some people are still using Word documents and all that, but you could also use PowerPoint. The most that I've seen are mainly on PowerPoint. Okay, so tips that you want to put in place: don't let the page be too much, and then the information you're putting in should be, like I said, straight to the point. You don't want to load them with introduction as filled 1 page, and all those things. You don't want that. You just want to go straight to the point in what the information that you're giving them and all that. It has to be simple. Like I said, it has to be simple, clear, and concise, straight to the point. This is what happened, this was what was done, and everything. And then the way like I said, clarity goes a long way. You have to be specific. You have to be careful so that your information is not too ambiguous, sort of, in a situation where you're saying something and they are not clear what you're saying. And I'll give you an example. I do report a lot at work. It's become almost every day for me now. This one will say, "Oh, I need information about this." That's the report that you need to do. "Oh, I need information about this." That's the report. And most times when I finish writing my report, I just copy everything and put it in Copilot to reward for me. To structure it properly. I give it the prompt of what I want and everything and all that. And most times when it comes out, all those long sentences that I've put there, just cut it short, short, for me and everything and all that. So people are using that. And the funny thing is, at work, they how will I put it? They encourage us to use it. They encourage the developers to use it. They encourage everybody to use it because it helps you to structure what you want to put there, very well, shorten the long sentence you've put there and all that. And it's even helping me myself. By the time I do that and I read it again, and I'm like, okay, so next time I don't have to write this long thing. I can just, make it these 5 or 6 words and all that. So, and it helps you to make it more clearer, the things you are using long words to put in there and everything and all that. Because there are times when we do reports, we want to do good reports, we want to be impressive in our report writing and all that. But believe me, the people that are reading reports are not interested in how good, how polished your English is and all that. They just want straight to the point. So you have to be clear in what you're putting out there, the information you're giving them, and also you have to section it, structure it in such a way that it's not all over the place, it's not too much. You don't put it in paragraphs. Paragraphs bore people because it's really hard to get to the point. But when you do bullet points, they can pick the information or what you're trying to say, or you do I don't know if I should call it subheadings. Yes, subheadings. Subheadings helps them to know. So if a financial person is reading your report and is talking about charts and all that, he might not be interested in the chart and all that. He just wants to be interested. He's interested in the budget aspect. So imagine if you have not put them in subheadings and all that, he will have to read through everything to know where the budget aspect of things is, which is what he's really interested in. So you need to section them in such a way, give it subheadings and all that. That helps it to be more clear, to give it, a good packaging and presentation. Okay, so who are the audience of your report? The stakeholders are the audience of your report. Most times when we make mention of stakeholders, a lot of people believe that stakeholders are just the high people up there, the client, the senior management, the CEO, the that and everything. But guess what? Your team members are also stakeholders. They have vested interest in that project. So they also can get the report. Most times the Scrum Master reports goes to your sprint report, goes to the product owner. Your team members are also able to read it. And what that does at times to your team members, apart from the fact that you do review, apart from the fact that you go to retro, you encourage they get encouraged and all that, the report also motivates them. By the time they are saying that thing, that okay, and I'm seeing a report that is maybe going to other stakeholders that is saying that, oh, this is done, this is done, this is done, even though it doesn't have their name in front of it, that they are the one that completed it. Because in Agile, is all about the team. There's no individual, there's no individualism and all that. There's no I. It's about we and all that. But the fact that, oh, this was what we accomplished at the end of the sprint and all that, it goes a long way. And then you're putting that report for your team in a centralized place where they can see it, either in your wiki. Some on Teams put it in their Teams channel. They upload a file in their Teams channel where team members can get to it easily. So your team members are part of your stakeholders. Their audience to it. Like I said, the product owner also most times use your reports to from his own report. Some of the things in your report will help the product owner to be able to write his own report for the stakeholders that he deals with, because he's the voice of the stakeholder, he's the voice of the end user. So he uses part of the things in your own report, to be able to provide information to the stakeholders. Okay, so another example that I would give using my work is well, I have a team where they have percentage allocation to what they can do. Okay, so the work that the product owner brings in is meant to be 80% of whatsoever they're working on during the sprint, and then 10% is put to any request coming from support. So the end users are doing some things and they just feel, oh, we would like you to help us to do this and all that. Once that thing has been estimated between the product owner and the tech lead and all that, refined, if they bring that in, is 10% of that is what is worked, is allocated into the sprint, and the remaining 10% is for tech debt. Now, the tech debt we're talking about is, kind of carrying out performance or upgrades to the system so that it's working well, it's able to take on board the load of users that are on it and all that. So at the end of the sprint, I'm creating a Power BI report that is showing those percentage allocation. So in a situation at times when the tech debt goes to 12 or 15, the product owner is having a discussion with the tech lead to say, oh, the allocation for tech debt is just 10%. Why has it gone to 15? Now, if he's able to, another part of their ways of working is if you're able to give a concrete reason why that is 15%, which he should have given really before the report comes out. So most times when the report comes out and the product owner is saying that 15%, is aware of that 15% and is able to go before the business and say that, oh, why this is 15% is because of we need to do these upgrades to the system, or else we'll be having downtimes and things like that and everything and all that. And once he's able to give that information and all that, they're able to discuss about it. Now it's got to a stage where the tech lead, myself, and the product owner are looking at things and say, if that tech debt keeps being 15%, maybe over a period of 3 months or 6 months, the product owner, myself, the three of us will go before business, before the project sponsor, who is the head of a department, and say, hey, this system, we're using it, is taking, when they bought it, it was just taking 5 clients. Now they are having 30, 40 clients. You don't expect the same thing. That resources needs to be upgraded, and they can only be upgraded through tech debt. And what we're trying to do is to get their buy-in into increasing the tech debt to 15%. And then that 5% definitely will have to come from either what business is expecting, which is theirs go to 75%. So you can see that report that you're doing and the audience is meant for helps over a period of time to even negotiate with business, with whatever you want to do and all that. But imagine if that report has not been going out, there won't be something to base, that negotiation on. So that's another audience, the product owner. There are other team that you work with, also the IT department also might ask for it, because like we're talking about the tech debt and working on the system and everything. Definitely you will need the IT department, you need the infrastructure department, or the platform department, the security department, engineers and all that, to help also to negotiate in that buy-in. They are able to give you they're able to give a report also to say, oh, this is what is happening. This is what you people are doing now. If you continue like that, it's going to break the system. There'll be downtime. Their end users, clients, external clients who are using this thing will be impacted and all that and everything. So they also at times, or most times, also get, you know, a copy of that report also. So these are some of the audience of a report. But like I said, again, depends on the project you're working on, depends on the the project depends on who your audience is, and then the person writing the project also. So what the Scrum Master's report might not go as far as the report of the APM would go, because they normally deals with stakeholders rather than the team. Okay, so those are some of the audience that you have. So like I said, we'll have a look at some few reports, a sample. So this is a sample of a page 1 of a sprint report that a Scrum Master, you know, would put together. You know, while we're talking about the content, I did say that you will have the project's name. So the project's name here is the ABC project, and then the sprint is sprint 10. And then over here, you could see the sprint period over there, covering when the sprint is, and then you'll have a breakdown of the sprint backlog update. So it's putting the ID there. It's not a must that you must put it there, but if they want to go and check, at least they have an ID to follow. Some make their ID to be hyperlink so that they can click on it, and then if they're definitely they can click on it and then go on the board to see what that thing, what that particular user story is talking about, in case there are other information in it, especially in situations when you didn't complete, where the status is unfinished or incomplete and all that. They might want to go to see more information that has been put in the discussion column concerning why that has not been completed. You could say the type of work item it is there, the title of it, what effort is on it, also at times helps to understand why it's not completed on time. And then you're looking at, because if you have an effort of 2 and you are saying incomplete, except if there is a blocker, you know, somewhere and everything, they'll be wondering, why would you finish a 5 and not a 2 and all that? So the effort also goes a long way to explain things. And then you want to put the status there, and you need a comment. Your comment most times is why has it not been? Why is it in that state? And then you can see here that it's saying unstable environment. Maybe so there is a particular environment that had an issue and all that, and that's why they couldn't finish. You could see that 3 of them or 4 of them actually has unstable environments. That was why, you know, they were unfinished. And then the other ones, you can see that they were completed. Also, if you look at the ones that are affected by the unstable environment, you can see that they are similar ones. They are the ones that have to do with the menu, the sub menu. They are the ones that are affected. But the package, the pricing package themselves, well, they were able to complete that, except the last one that wasn't completed. Okay, so and then you can see the total effort that was used during that sprint. So all that is there, and you can see that has been sectioned out very well. Everything is not just mumble jumble together. Then this is showing you the capacity of the team. These are the people in the team that worked on the project. Those are the planned days. Those are the actual work days for them. So you could see this one not planned to work 10 days, but ended up working 7 days. That could have impacted one thing or the other, apart from part of what was not completed and all that. So you want to put all that there. And what that is doing is helping the team, you know, giving them information really more about why. I'm not saying that is the reason why it wasn't completed, but it could also help give more information about that. And then you're looking at the issues here, also sectioned out to say 60% of the story committed to sprint could not be completed. And then you can see it says due to the testing environment being unstable. So the QAs could not do what they need to do. And we know that definition of done doesn't mean when the developer is done, the whole thing is done. The testers also have to complete their own. If UAT has to be completed, if it's part of the definition of done, has to be completed before, you know, everything is taken to done. Okay, and then it says this was resolved a day to the end of sprint. You could see that the unstable environment was what was resolved a day to the end of sprint, and as a result, there was no way they could finish all those ones that needed to be done. And then you could see the highlights, the sprint highlight here. It says committed 41 efforts, so it's just giving a summary of everything here. So other stakeholders might not be bothered about all these long information you've put here. It could be for maybe the product owner or the team lead and all that. But these highlights could be what is most important for either the product owner or other stakeholders that would get their hands on the report to say they committed 41 efforts, they completed 18. 75% of the story in relation to pricing packages were completed. As you can see, the ones that has pricing packages were completed apart from the gold package. And then you could see that stories relating to the menus and all that were the ones that were not completed because of the unstable environment. And then it says all uncompleted stories, what will happen to them? They will spill over and be prioritized first in the next sprint. Okay, so that is giving the stakeholders, maybe they're expecting this to be released and all that. They're saying those are the things we want to prioritize in the next sprint before we do any other thing. Okay, so that could be a first page, and then this could be the second page. So in the second page, your chart could be in the second page. Okay, so you can see the burn down charts there, and then you can see the velocity over there, and then you have a review feedback update here. So what this report doesn't have is an explanation of what this chart is, because you don't expect that because you as a Scrum Master understood the chart, every other person is going to understand the chart also. So there are times when in your report also you want to do a bit of a section that talks about metrics, observation, and suggestion. So you're able to give the information. Some people do kind of a text box on their chat, and inside that text box, they put their information there so that the stakeholder or whosoever is reading the chart doesn't need to go to another section and start reading the observation and going back to look at the chart. You know, everything can actually be put on the chart itself where you're explaining, you know, what is going on in that chart. You're able to explain it. But you can see that in this side of things, you can see the review feedback updates there. You can see it says request to change landing page banner to moving image has been carried out. So there was that feedback during review, and they're just giving updates that has been done. So that is there also. So that, and like I said, that's the one that I said you could also put the URL link, you know, copy the link and just put it there. So if the stakeholder wants to go there to see, oh, have they done it? Let me see what they've done and everything, they can do that. If it's still not up to their satisfaction, they can speak to the PO to say, oh yeah, they've done it, but that's not the way I want it and all that. Because with agile, you know, you don't wait. You can they can give feedback at any time, and that's why you have requests coming into the sprints even after you've done your sprint planning and all that. It could be requests coming from the reports. They review things again and they feel, oh, still adjust it this way and that way. Those are part of the requests that comes in that the PO brings into the sprints at times, because maybe they want, that's value, you know, that's business value that is just waiting if they don't feedback and if you don't adjust immediately, so that they can release that to the end users. The end users can start using that particular aspect, that incremental value to the product. And then you want to now give them an overview of the next sprint. You're going to put a sprint 11. These are the things they want to do to complete all the ones they've not completed in the previous sprint, and then to create multiple payment gateway. Those are the things, you know, those are the goals for the next sprint that they want to work on. And the audience are aware, everybody is aware, everybody has a shared understanding of what the work for the next sprint is going to be. So this is just a sample, and you can see it's just 2 pages, but it's giving loads of information, but in a very, very simple and straightforward, short information has been passed across, but loads of information, like I said, has been passed across. So that is the one for the Scrum Master. Now we want to have a look at the one for, this would be the one for either the APM or the ADM, who is giving a project status update. So the one for the Scrum Master is the sprint update report, but yours is a project status. So it's high level, is covering an overview of a phase, like I said, or the project itself. So you can see there the project name is there. Most times they give it a code because that might not be the only project they are working on. So they want to specify the one that it is. The name of the project manager or the APM or the ADM will be there. And then the status date also. What date are you looking at. You want to put that there. Some put the period that they are talking about for their status date, or they can say, yeah, for their status date, it might not just be one day, it might just be from so date to so date to cover the period. Okay, and then you give a project summary, like I said earlier on. You can see that the development is on track to complete on time. That's what key stakeholders are after. That is what either the project sponsor is after. That is this project still on track? Is it, kind of doing what it's supposed to do? And then it's looking at the process of planning for next step has begun. Okay, so what they are saying is, for this phase, we're on track. We've done what we need to do. For next phase, we're already planning. The planning has already started. And then what was either the delay or any delay that was in the previous process, you could see it's been put there also, that the quality control is postponed because one of the testers was on holiday or thereabout. So that is, just 3 sentences saying a lot about 3 months. But those are the informations that are more important for any key stakeholders to have. And then they're looking at the project status over here to say that the budget spent, they said it's 20%. That's green. That means we are still on track with the budget. The scope delivered is 30. You can see that is on amber. That is saying, okay, we need to keep an eye on that. That is very low, so that we need to keep an eye, and that's why that is red. And then the estimated date is supposed to be November 1. It won't be delivered in November 1 because you can see the scope that has been delivered is low, and that is why that is red. Red is like risk, is a big risk. What are we going to do to manage that? And this information is given further in the charts that are here to say that, okay, the velocity for this sprint, for this term, is 46. So 3 months, like I said, the first month, their velocity was 2. Maybe that was when they started the planning and everything. The second month is 62, which is a good improvement. And then the third month is 69. So for you to get your average velocity, you just add everything together and then divide by 3 to get the 46 they have here. So the team's average velocity is 46, okay, for that phase that they've worked on. And then here you're looking at the projected date, for the first month, the second month, and you can see things were coming down. Okay, so it's like the work that is being done down and all that as is going. So if it continues the way it's going, what it's trying to say is that this is going to end by November 15. And remember the timeline, the estimated date for the particular release was meant to be November 1st. And it's saying now that, okay, as it is now, it's going to release the projected date to release this particular phase is November 15, and that's why you have this as amber, because they're expecting it by November 1st, but now it's going to be November 15. Okay, so this helps to explain this project status better for this team. And then the budgets, like I said, the project budget, you can see that here. You'll have the item description, the forecast. So this was the estimate, and then this is the actual that was spent. So for the IT cost, you can see that it was £50,000, and then they ended up using, for this particular quarter, not for the whole project, they ended up using 34,000, which is okay. For the vendor, it was estimated at 35, but they've spent 200,000, and that is why that is flagging, is an alert showing that, okay, we've overspent more than we thought we were going to spend here. So the software cost also, you can see, is 76%, but they ended up spending 54. So they were doing well with all the other estimates they've made, except the vendor, which it's gone beyond more than 100% of what was budgeted for. And then you can see that the total at the end of this phase was meant to be 206,000, but it's actually 311,000. So this is the one that the financial person, key stakeholder, the finance person is more interested in, and it could actually call for a meeting between yourself, the product owner, and you, the APM, to say, okay, so why do we have this high figure? You can have a very good concrete reason why these are gone up, because it could be inflation, in the economic situation that has caused it to be like that. All vendors have increased their price and all that and everything, and then this also has to be brought to the the knowledge, actually the project sponsor can be called into that meeting also. Now, don't get me wrong, when this report comes out is not when the finance person and the project sponsor are seeing this. When this happened with the vendor, the APM would have called the finance person, gotten in touch with the finance person and the project sponsor, the finance person first, because it has to be an internal thing, and then they would have deliberated on, what is the best way forward. Are we leaving that vendor to go to another vendor? Is that vendor the best vendor? Will get, kind of security with that vendor and all that? Are we negotiating for them to say, oh, we've been working with you for a while, can you reduce it? Da, 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 da. And they would have taken that to the project sponsor to say, okay, this has gone up and everything. If this project sponsor, it has confidence in that vendor, they are at peace with that vendor. A lot of people are at peace with paper, and everything. So they would be like, okay, this is a well-known vendor. Would rather go with this vendor and all that. We don't mind increasing that bit and all that. That's fine. So they shouldn't be seeing it for the first time, because that's a huge, addition. So they shouldn't be seeing it for the first time, but it's going to be part of the report that you give at the end, of the day. And then you're looking at the recent accomplishments that the team has. It says analysis of the key components. So maybe the key component is what they need to work on next. The accomplishment is that we've analyzed it already. And then you can see the planned activity here. You can see security testing of the website and application, development of the key component that has been analyzed. That's their goal they want to focus on, and testing of it also. And then you can see the risk and the mitigation here. So there was a bottleneck, and the reason for the bottleneck in QA is because tasks were delayed because of security testing that could not be completed. Remember, we've already said here that quality control had to be postponed because somebody was on holiday. What is the mitigation plan you're going using towards that? Is to borrow a resource, a QA tester, to who is due to start on Tuesday to carry out that security testing, so that the person that has gone on holiday, will not, it won't affect things. We won't leave things forever until the person comes back, especially if the person is coming back even after this November 15th. So you want to get somebody else in to do the work. And maybe that's why we could not even finish November 1 and it's taking it to November 15. We will have looked at the timeline for this person to come on board, have shared understanding, and be able to carry out that test towards release that is going to happen November 15. Okay. So again, you could see that this is even just a one pager, and you can see the information that is there, loads of information, well sectioned out, with subheadings and all that, and it's giving all the necessary information. It didn't go to any length to do any unnecessary introduction, all those things and everything and all that. For this one, you don't even need the team's details and all that and everything, because it's not part of what the stakeholders, the key stakeholders are interested in when it comes to your project status. They just want to know, with the project, where are we, and what are we doing next after where we are. So those are some of the things that you have when you talk about your samples of your report. Okay, so this is another one. So this is one that you can do. Yeah, this is a one pager. The other one is like a two pager. This is also for an ADM or APM, mainly for an ADM, or even an APM also can provide this. You could see the name of the product over there. You could see the key delivery milestone is talking about Q1, and then he's looking at what is the RAG status. He said it's amber, so it's not green, it's amber, which means keep an eye on it. And then the date is meant to be end of February. Okay. You can see also the executive, the summary there. You can see the executive summary there. You can see the objective. So the Q1 objective, you can see that the primary goal for the Q1 is they want to ensure completion of the outstanding enhancements and all that. What are the deliverables that is meant to come for that? So Q1 release, at the end of Q1, what they want is an end-to-end order process, mobile application, and then new feature that is meant to emerge on that product on the website is managing recurring bills. Those were the deliverables that are meant to be in place. And this is giving you a RAID analysis of what happened. And therefore, your RAID analysis, your red is critical, your orange or amber is high, you have medium, and then you have low. And then it's giving the status here. So these are just some of the issues of the risk, and then the mitigating factor, and then the status of it. You can see that the number, the description, delay in getting approval to make use of the biller's data on the website. So right now is an issue. It's no more a risk. It's become an issue. And then who owns that issue? That is the business. What is the impact on what is being done? So it says by end of February release, the end of February release. So there was meant to be, you can see here that we say there's supposed to be a release at the end of February. It says the end of February release cannot go ahead with the biller's data, without the biller's data on the website. That is what that was meant to be. So it's critical. That's why it's like that. And then the mitigating action is release will be postponed tentatively to the end of March. So they are adding 1 month to it so that they're able to get those data, onto the website. And then you can see all those information. So this is another way that you can do your status, your project status report also could be these 2 pages. Okay, so again, you can see straightforward what is the issue. What is it? Still a risk, or it's become an issue? Where are we at it? You can see that there is a critical issue. There is also a high issue. So this one is not critical, but again, it's high. And then you can see the owner there. The name of the owner is there. For the one that is medium, also you can see the name of the owner, the impact that is going to have on what is being done, and then the mitigation that needs to be in place. So this is another sample of a project status report that an ADM or an APM can create. That is where we will stop for today. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. So I won't stop sharing my screen in case you want me to go back to any of the slides to explain anything. Or I can stop sharing so that I can see if people are raising their hands, because I'm sharing. I can't see that right now. Okay, so any questions from anyone? Also, let me just quickly say that there are times when during the course of the internship, did you would ask you to put some things in your report. It's part of the internship and all that, and most times some of the things you put there doesn't mean that is exactly what you will get when you do a report, when you are at the place of work and all that, but it's just part of the internship training. Just so, and what that helps you to do again most times is it helps you to know the things that you're actually doing. You putting it down in your reports that you're sharing during review would be you being able to talk about it, when you start going out to look for work, getting confidence and actually seeing what you've done, in a couple of weeks that you've started the internship. Okay. So that doesn't mean all of them are the things that you would put on your report when you're working out there, but just so we're aware of that. Yeah. Okay, so any questions from anyone?
Hi, Mojisola.
Hi, Chris.
Um, I can see a reflection of say like a project MSP kind of. So in Azure in SM as a Scrum Master, I
Mhm.
think I was discussing and I was asking Biodun about this, this night that, there are some, level of reports. I can see that, with the ADM, it is more of a high level of
Yeah.
than this, which I've never really known, to be honest. I've never really come across around that environment before. So which just pricked my interest at why is because I was asking, oh, do we have a minute, like project highlight reports, status reports, um, those kind of reports. I'm just wondering why is not happening within is it the Azure environment or within the SM level?
Within the Azure environment, okay, so there are some most of your reports, why you don't have it on Azure is because your audience, not all your audience will have access to your Azure board.
Mm.
And that's why, like I said, the best way to present it at times is using PowerPoint.
Okay.
Not only PowerPoint, you could also use Word documents. Some people use Word documents for, I know a lot of project managers use Word documents when they are doing their reporting and all that. But like I said, even if you use Word document, or even if you use what is it called, PowerPoint, you can save it on Azure. That's the centralized place for your team members who are the ones making use of your project board to see it. Okay, so your project sponsor can't have access, or won't have access, let me put it that way, to your Azure board. So if you create the report and you maybe go on your wiki and you type it out on your wiki rather than save it, upload it on there, some of your audience won't have access to it. And then it gets to a place, do you want to be opening sub page for every sprint report that you have? But there is a way you can upload it, upload the Word document or the what is it called, the PowerPoint onto your Azure. Another place that it's very common out there where you keep your document is on Teams, on MS Teams, or the channel. After the chat, you will see at the top where you have files. So you can save it also on the files over there, where everyone who is on your Teams channel are able to see. So there are times when people also allow external guests to come on the Teams channel. So there are times when your stakeholders can be on your Teams channel. So if it's on your Teams file, they can also have access to it through that. And then what another thing you do is, if you create your report and then you copy the link, you can drop it on the channel to say, this is the report for so time and everything. Definitely you would have put the setting in view and not edit, because you don't want them to delete, delete it knowing that it's in the cloud. Yeah. And then you can just put it as view and all that. And everybody on that channel, every stakeholders you have on that channel can actually click on it and view the reports. So you can put it on both,
Okay.
or depending on where the team agrees on your ways of working, to say that, oh, we want to be putting all our documents in so place. You can do that. At my place of work, there is a general Teams channel for IT teams. For the IT teams, we call them the engineering wiki. And for all the development teams, they expect them to put their reports there. So what the IT team is trying to do is best practices. They want to check the report to ensure that it's aligning with best practices when it comes to engineering, when it comes to security, compliance, and all that. Even the legal department have access to that channel. They're able to check what they're doing, especially when you're working with data, that are they, whatever they are doing, are they doing it properly? If they see any report, that is not talking in line with encryption, to send data out and all that and everything, they are calling that team to, to order to say, in line with GDPR, you have to do da, which most team do anyway, because your product owner would have reached out to the compliance team to make sure that while they're writing their requirements, they've put all those things in place and all that. So that's another set of stakeholders when it comes to the project you're working on. The legal department, the information security department, the GDPR team, they're all part of it, depending, again, like I said, on what you're working on and how it will affect the public.
Okay. All right. Oh, fair enough. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Any other question from anyone?
Hello.
Hi, Jen.
Yeah. Yeah. So we are working on a project now, but on the mandate, we've not been told precisely when when the rollout time would be. I mean, when we'll finalize the project. How do we source for such information?
Ask your BA. ask your PO. That's one thing you should do, as especially with anybody, especially also, I mean, I expect you to know, because you have to know the timeline of your project. You need to know it. So
All right.
even if they are not saying it, you want to ask that information, because, like I said, for the APM, they need it on their report.
Reports.
Number one, apart from having it on your report, your budget is based on your timeline, and you want to ensure that you know the timeline so that you don't overspend, and then maybe before the end of the timeline, the money has finished. So it's something you want to know. So I know for me as a Scrum Master, I would expect that as a Scrum Master, I know everything, or if not everything, but most of the things the BA or the PO knows. I want to know about the project. What is it all about? What is the goal for this project? What is the purpose for it? What solution is it providing, for the business or the project sponsor? Not because mainly I have to do anything, but that knowledge goes a long way for you, that you're leading the team or you're supporting and guiding the team through a particular process.
Yeah, true. Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Rami.
Sorry, I got kicked out. I just joined back.
No problem.
So I was going to ask a question that so what I know is that while putting, compiling report or packs together, you normally get the information from somewhere, from a source.
Mhm.
Um which could be either the project managers from different projects, but in this case, because it's Scrum and it's agile framework methodology is different. So will the information be coming directly from the product owner, or will it be coming from, it can come from the BA, to be honest. So I'm really trying to understand where.
So it depends on, okay, so right now, because you're on in the internship, you're on the board, you have been put on the board, also you attend most of their meetings and all that. Out there, it would be you working with the Scrum Master. So most of the information you get, like you said, there's some information you'll get from the Scrum Master to do your high level report. There's some information you will get from the BA, to do your high level reports. There are times when the APM already has kind of a pre-sprint planning with either the BA, the PO, and the tech lead to say, okay, this is what we have for the quarter. How are you doing it? You do a quarter planning. That's your job, to do a quarter planning, and then carry the PO along, because the roadmap belongs to you. There is a roadmap that you will have
Yeah.
that is high level, and is covering in milestones to say this first quarter, this is what we want to do and everything. You work
Yeah.
along with the PO to say, PO, is this okay? Is this what the business is saying and all that? Yeah, this is what the business said we should do for the whole year and all that. Okay, this is how I've divided it out. Which ones are priority? The two of you would have collaborated to create that roadmap. And you, as the APM, are the ones ensuring that is being kept to. That is what the team, that's what you're looking at the end of every sprint, to say that, okay, have we done this? Yes, you've done it. You note it down, because remember, at the end of the 3 months, you're going to give update on that. And at the end of the 3 months, you're looking at, have we been able to complete all those things that we've put down for that particular quarter? If we haven't, why didn't we? And you're not getting that information at the end of that 3 months when you want to do your reports. Yeah, you're aware of it immediately. So when the Scrum Masters escalate any issue, there is being escalated to you as the APM or the ADM, and then you are the ones resolving it. Okay, so they are not escalating everything to you. It's anything that goes outside the remit of the process. Remember, the Scrum Master is guiding the team through the process, the Scrum process. So anything that goes outside that, resources wise, you're not able to get resources, facility wise, anything that has to do with IT. Oh, for us to do this, we need IT to configure something on the domain for us and everything. That is the one you are running with.
So
To help
basically, it's not actually the risk, but the issues.
the risk, that is still a risk, is not an issue. So when they are having issue with the domain configuration and other, is a risk. It becomes an issue when we can't deliver that thing
Yeah.
because of that risk. So you're
Yeah, that's when you
managing the
escalate.
risk before it becomes an issue.
Oh, okay.
And if there are times your hands are tight, it becomes an issue and all that. There are times when, okay, because of a regulation that the government wants to do regarding data migration and everything and all that, we're not able to release a particular thing and all that. It's not, there's nothing you can do. Your hands are tight. It's the government. You can't go and meet the government and say,
Yeah.
oh, we want to release. Oh, it's affecting almost the whole nation. Do you understand? And
Yeah.
that can push release at times. But having a concrete reason for stakeholders why it has not been done is what you want to do. And most times that risk also, you're not aware. So it depends on the GDPR team telling you, oh, they don't do things like this anymore. When do you want to release? Oh, we're releasing 4th of May, or sorry, 4th of April. Oh, the government is bringing out new regulations by the 1st of April. Until we know what that regulation is, we can't release on the 4th.
That's
But
right.
you're carrying the stakeholders along. That one, your hands are tied. There is nothing you can
Yeah.
do. Is that risk is going to become an issue.
Mm-hmm.
But what we want to mitigate it, and part of the mitigating plan we're putting in place is telling the key stakeholders to say that we need to postpone this because of this. So by the time you put your mitigation action in place, and you've moved that release time forward a bit, maybe to the end of April, it's no longer a risk because you now have enough time that when that regulation comes out, you can still apply it before
Yeah.
the new release date that you've put in place. So it's just ensuring that you're aware of those
Yeah.
risks. You're being
So,
carried along, you're aware of it, and you're managing it properly so that it doesn't become an issue that you need to do. And when it becomes an issue, like I said, just make sure that there is a plan in place.
okay. Is that the reason why they normally put some project on hold?
Yes, yes. There
Oh,
are times
okay.
when some projects are put on hold because of that. There are times when some projects are put on hold when you're developing a particular thing that is legally okay, and then all of a sudden parliament meets, they deliberated, they voted, and they say, oh, we can't do this anymore and all that. That project is put on hold because it has now become illegal to do that particular thing because of one thing or the other that has happened, and that project will just be put on hold. So that means whatsoever efforts and money that has been spent on it, we won't say it's wasted because no knowledge is wasted, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, that time and most times what most organizations do is to find the subject matter expertise who sits down with what has been done, and then they look at how can we still fine-tune things to work with whatsoever law that has been made. And if it can't be done, then most times it becomes obsolete.
Oh,
So there
great.
is not all the times when you start a project that you might end it, depending on the impacting factor. There are
Mm.
times when projects are abandoned also.
Yeah. Sometimes it's based on, the budget mismanagement and all of those. Yeah.
Yeah, mismanagement is even good. If it's mismanagement, at least they know it's mismanagement.
Mm.
It's the one where you've done everything that you need to do, maybe because of a government policy that changed and all that. That thing can't be done anymore, and then you just have
Yeah.
to kind of scrap it here.
Yeah. So because I'm going to have like two different CVs, so one for HPM and one for SM. So
Mm.
in the SM side of it, so who would be like the direct person to get like the key information from, because I know that the report will be based on the sprints,
Mhm.
the 2 weeks cycle
Yeah.
and all of those stuff. So is it just going to be based on the BAs, or is still going to be the PO?
It will be the PO, and then if you
PO.
don't have a P to B, your BA is the proxy PO. We'll get it to the PO and all that. But like the question Chris asked earlier on, once you share that document, on your team's channel, the PO is there. The PO is part of your Scrum team, and the PO is there. So the PO will get it. Your team members also will be able to see it. There are times when I drop the report, nobody comes to me, and then you see the keywords coming to say, "Oh, I noticed you said the total story point is so. But when I counted, they go to the board to actually to actually count it to see if what I'm saying in the report, is right. Oh, I can't. It was more than that. But what they are counting the new column, and your new column is just the product
That's right.
backlog. So even if it has story points on it, we didn't. It's just a
Yeah.
shelf. It's not part of what we're working on.
Mm.
So I'll have to explain that
It
to them.
wasn't part
So,
of the
okay,
milestone.
that's true and
Yeah.
everything. So there are times when you drop it there, nobody gets in touch with you, even if you've said, "Oh, let me know if you have any questions and all that," and it doesn't mean they are not looking at it. One or 2 days, you can just see people, sending you message to say one thing or the other. But definitely, your PO would see it. And if you normally drop a link and not the whole document, once in a while, if the way I know if people have looked at it at all or not is when I go to that link again, I click on it, and then I click on share it again. It will show you everybody that has opened it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you'll be able to see everybody. So, but they didn't say anything, but they've gone through it already.
Okay. That means it's fine.
Yeah.
And the report is only for the key stakeholders within the sprint, right?
It
Like
goes, like I
for
said,
the
when I was explaining, it goes beyond the sprint. So the PO picking it is not just going through it and say, "Oh, yeah, that's fine." He uses some few information on it also to provide
to his own
information to,
okay.
yeah, his own, maybe his line manager or
Okay.
the end users that he works with and all that. He's able to give them more information. So rather than coming to meet you to say, "Oh, I need to provide something for them. Can you tell me da 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 da?" He's looked at that report and he's be able to get all the
Let
information
the
in
key
it without even
points.
coming to
Okay.
meet you.
Okay. And also I was going to ask, is SharePoint being used in the Scrum world at all?
Yeah, I use SharePoint at work.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's a good one. What about Project Online?
I'm not sure. Depend on each organization and what they use. My company
Okay.
use Microsoft. They are Microsoft house. You can't use
Oh,
anything that is not Microsoft's product. They won't allow you to use it. I guess it's because of the contracts they have with Microsoft
yeah.
and the discounts they are getting for using just their product alone and all that. So,
Okay.
but other organizations are using different things. I know organizations that are not that big and all that use other things. They use Monday.com, they use Slack, they use, different things and everything. But big organizations normally just go with, they are more, like I said, at peace with
With the
companies that
bigger
they know.
ones, yeah.
Yes,
Well, no.
security wise, they don't mind
Mm.
using that vendor and all that. So most organizations just stick with Microsoft kind of because of the security they get from
Mm-hmm.
using their product.
Okay, I think that's everything for me. If I've got any more questions, I'll come back to you.
Okay,
Thank you.
no problem. All right, any other questions? Okay, in the absence of questions, have a wonderful evening. John, you can stop the recording. Thanks.